Hi, I'm Donald Turner, and this is Chapter 2 in the Atheism Help series. One little detail before we begin. This is not about subscribing. In fact, rather than subscribing, it's better for you to simply check back for a new chapter once in a while, because discussing irregular religious beliefs ultimately becomes embarrassing for the followers. I'm trying to help you avoid embarrassment, so watch and comment anonymously. Today's subject is origins, and it is a continuation of Chapter 1. Watch those chapters that interest you, but if you skip around, you will not understand the point being made. Ultimately, we want to get to about Chapter 6, which will be entitled Theodicy. In the vernacular, that is the study of why God allows bad things to happen to good people, especially me. But we're nowhere near that subject yet. Note, you will not be asked to believe in the God of the Bible or His Son, Jesus Christ, in this video. You will be asked to think. Start now. So, origins. We already discussed that no origins aspect of any religion is scientific, as by the very nature of that level of event, no one was present to record or view any of it. That is across the entire spectrum of religions. But for now, we're discussing only atheism as compared to Christianity. But before we go on, let's define those two terms as used in this series. The 5th edition of the American Heritage Dictionary of the English language defines atheism as disbelief in or denial of the existence of God or gods. This dictionary does not contain a listing for atheists, but we can extrapolate the same. Let's look closer at our definition. We actually find two types of atheists. Let's call them Type A and Type B. Type A genuinely does not believe in God or gods. This is obvious and requires no further discussion. Type B denies the existence of God or gods. To deny a thing is to vocalize, write, or otherwise make known a disbelief in that particular thing. In this case, a disbelief in God or gods. The action of denying is a physical act, and often it has little to do with the actual belief of the mind or heart. Time for an illustration. A lawyer fights tooth and nail to clear his client of criminal charges, all the while knowing that the client in question is guilty and that he needs to be in jail. His mouth states one thing, his mind and his heart know another. This is a Type B. On the other hand, belief or disbelief in an origins level event is specifically a decision of the mind and or heart, as discussed in the first video. Why? As no part of the event was witnessed, belief is a matter of faith. But I digress. So, there are two types of atheists, and the dictionary acknowledges both. Personally, I've only met those who claim to not believe in God or gods, while their actual belief was quite different. This seems to me to be an honest definition. I acknowledge both aspects of atheism, although I cannot confirm the actual existence of any Type A's. The same dictionary defines Christian as professing belief in Jesus as Christ or following the religion based on the life and teachings of Jesus. And it goes on, but that's as close as we can get from a dictionary. This definition of Christian is so shallow that it is hardly even a starting point. When I refer to myself as a Christian, I'm talking about far more than a belief in Jesus as the Christ. When I say Christian, I mean to summarize in one word that I believe everything in the English Bible from Genesis 1:1 to Revelation 22:21. And I believe it without reservation or condition. I believe it as written, by whom it was written, to whom it was written, and in the context in which it was written. Now, this is why I object to the term creationist. I believe the biblical account of creation, that's 8 or 10 pages here, but I also believe the other 1,500 pages here. To use the term creationist is to grossly misunderstand the discussion. To be a creationist gets you nothing. Now, let's review the 3 questions that every religion must address. Where did I come from? Why am I here? After I die, then what? Now, we already noted in brief that atheism fails horribly in its attempt to address item 1. Where did I come from? But let's look at that in some detail as compared to Christianity. If we were to go back 20 billion years, and if I were so charitable as to allow the atheist any combination of elements known to present-day man, and if I were to allow all but say 6,000 odd years of that 20 billion years for those elements to combine in any way that is favorable to the atheistic viewpoint, you would still have a huge problem. And what is that? At some point during those 20 billion years, inert material, which is to say lifeless material, suddenly became alive. If you believe that happened as a normal, natural process, again, you are grossly mistaken and do not understand the fundamental claims of your religion, whatever that might be. In no religion is there almost alive or kind of alive. So let me repeat and be clear. Time has nothing to do with this aspect of atheism. What does time accomplish? Time allows the fanatical atheist the opportunity to spin a complex tale upon which the casual or middle-of-the-road atheist can rationalize the irrational. It offers a semblance of intellect to a problem that defies all intellect. As to evolution itself, we'll look at that 20 billion years again, but today we're still talking about origins. Now then, I did receive one critique. In chapter 1, in reference to origins requiring a vera causa, I said, we cannot make up something just because we do not know. A viewer insinuated that the Christian viewpoint was made up. I thank you for the comment, and I welcome the opportunity to clarify the misunderstanding, but we were coming here anyway. A moment ago, I said that if I would allow the atheist all but 6,000 odd years of the 20 billion year period currently being suggested by the atheistic position, nothing would be resolved because it's not an issue of time. But more importantly, why am I so charitable? Because we know what has happened for those other 6,000 odd years. The big stuff anyway. Here's something curious that you might like. I have 3 of these jumbo dictionaries. Related to the current subject, there are a couple of curiosities, but we only have time for one at the moment. The term prehistoric does not exist in the older dictionary. Prehistory is a relatively new idea. You see, we know what history is. 6,000 odd years of it are pretty well written down in the Bible and other sources. Prehistory, on the other hand, changes daily with the whim of the prehistorian, or so it seems. But getting back to science, vera causa, and things made up. As noted, no amount of time is going to allow inert material to become alive. That is not a natural occurrence. No, I said, that is not a natural occurrence. What is it then? It is a supernatural occurrence. Science has had over 150 years to come up with a natural method to conjure life from inert material, and science has nothing to show for it. Have we not been patient? That's both of us, the atheist and the Christian. Life from inert material is a supernatural act. According to scientific language as discussed in chapter 1, we are obligated to look for a supernatural vera causa. So, let's quickly burn through our supernatural options. Number 1, reject all little g gods as they have no staying power. Number 2, reject all mythical gods because they have all fallen into disfavor with their respective followers. Number 3, reject any god that has no track record of supernatural events. Number 4, reject any god of any society that has disappeared from the planet. And, as we're only discussing atheism as compared to Christianity, number 5, reject any god that was so immoral as to not give us a rule book. And lastly, number 6, reject any god that does not push us to be better, which is to say, to be more like him. And let's reject the god or god thing once and for all. Nobody cares about generic no-name gods. The point throughout the so-called debate is the God of the Bible versus atheistic evolution. Obviously, you can see where this is going. But don't panic. You're not about to be asked to get saved. You're a long way from that at the moment. For now, just think. Christianity has made up nothing. There was a supernatural act. This is a fact. Now we are required to look for a supernatural veracausa. Only the God of the Bible meets these standards. And still more bizarre, every word of the Bible was written down from 1900 to 3500 years ago. Now, most people would admit that we're speaking of a far simpler time and a far simpler people. But they wrote of origins in a fashion that is still accurate today. For the Christian, this is a supernatural book. An example or two. It is written that in the beginning there was nothing but God. God then spoke the heavens and the planets into being. He then created the life forms. And it goes on and it gets more complicated. But the Christian has not been required to backpedal even once in 6,000 years. On the other hand, I offered you any combination of elements in 20 billion years, and what do you have? Nothing. It works like this. I can't give you any of it. The atheist must provide a workable plan for the creation of not only life from inert material, but he must also provide the inert material and the planets and the heavens, or if you prefer, the skies, the atmosphere, and space beyond. In the roughly 150 years since atheism became more vocal, nothing addresses any of this, and apparently no one has noticed. Did you? You're still only being asked to think. You're not about to get saved. But there is another huge problem. In this series, so far we've used two terms not commonly heard in everyday life, veracausa and ex nihilo. On the other hand, the fanatical atheist speaks of amino acids, enzymes, glycine, and an absolute dictionary of other terms. Now, I could look up any of these items and talk about them, but the easiest response for the casual or middle of the roader is to respond. And where did that substance come from? He will respond and repeat. And where did that substance come from? And again and again and again until he shrugs his shoulders and leaves mad. The fanatical atheist wants to wrestle the discussion from the mind of the casual and middle of the roader. To do so, he uses words that are not a part of anybody's vocabulary. Defining the substance will not help you. The purpose of these first few chapters is to get you to start thinking. A characteristic of these chapters is the inclusion of simple illustrations that you can understand. Time for an illustration. Most people who live in or see a modern American home made out of brick think, wow, how pretty, a brick house. I worked close enough to construction that I know that is not a true statement. Typical American homes are built of wooden 2x4s and a few 2x6s. Inside you find tubing, wiring, insulation, sheetrock, and a variety of other materials. Once that's done, 3 or 4 guys show up and cover the outside with bricks about 2 or 3 inches thick. In fact, you could take a sledgehammer and knock every brick off of most modern homes and the thing would still stand. But don't do that. This is not evolution or atheism. At a glance, atheistic evolution appears to be an impenetrable brick fortress. But to reduce it to rubble, you need to knock out but a precious few bricks and the whole thing will fall over. Atheism has no substance. We're at the end of chapter 2. 18 words from the Bible summarize atheistic evolution. Isaiah 52:3. For thus saith the Lord, you've sold yourselves for naught, and you shall be redeemed without money. Atheistic evolution is a hollow shell. It offers nothing, but it demands a great price. To be redeemed from atheism will cost you nothing. Christ already paid the price. Now that's fair. 2 chapters and only 1 verse from the Bible. Next time, chapter 3, the Big Bang. Until then, take a break and watch some music videos.